What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll be taking a look over here at the Bitcoin price chart, the XRP price chart, along with the total market cap of crypto, as we're coming off of our first real pullback here for XRP and the altcoin market since June. We're talking about how it would make sense for the total market cap to backtest the previous all-time high, which is what we saw happen here throughout the altcoin market, really over the last 48 hours. This was discussed in the last video that I put out on Monday about the total market cap backtesting the previous high. And I've seen a lot of fascinating things in this market. I've seen a lot of different things, and sometimes there's things that are just like, wow, I don't know if I've seen that one, where Bitcoin just stays entirely still as the whole altcoin market pulls back. Now, of course, what was interesting about that is that when the breakout into the new all-time high happened, it didn't involve Bitcoin in that moment. Bitcoin has been stopped here on July 16th when this breakout happened. As you can see right here, Bitcoin had already peaked, but the total market cap of crypto broke out into a new high due to the altcoin market ripping, and this pullback to backtest the all-time high is the altcoin market pulling back, while still Bitcoin just runs flat through here with the breakout and the backtest. Well, I don't know if I've seen that one exactly like that before, but that's what happened. We also saw nearly $1 billion liquidated from the cryptocurrency market, and it being entirely altcoins. We've really been kind of spoiled throughout all of July, and that was really kind of the first backtest or pullback that we've seen in the market. To give you kind of an idea on how big this pullback really is for those who are maybe too accustomed to what July has been like. I want you to look back over here and just kind of get an idea. You see that little correction right there? Yeah, that's about how big this correction has been so far. So just a little pullback happening in here as we're backtesting the previous all-time high. Now, in the coming days, it's time to see, is that good enough for total? Is that backtest happening there good enough to be the launch pad? And will Bitcoin give us a signal that this is just going to end up being something kind of morphed in here, or is it ready to shift on? As I've presented for months, I believe we are going to see a parabola over here for Bitcoin and just waiting for that to happen. And so everybody looking for the peak of the market, everybody probably trying to call the top too early. I get it. I do not think we will see the peak until we get our parabola. But was that backtest happening there on top of total a signal that things could be shifting pretty soon? For XRP, obviously, we spent about 5 days trying to buck through this resistance over in here, where we saw the resistance for the crypto strategic reserve announcement from Trump when it included XRP, Cardano, and Solana. This was our breakout level. This is now a backtest happening in here, now likely to range until the breakout can happen for Bitcoin. Now, back in 2024, when the price ripped from 50 cents to nearly $3, we saw multiple corrections of this size as XRP marched its way up. Not just this one in here, but the next one was the same size. And that, even doing these things and just continuing the velocity, you could still just keep marching and marching. And depending on Bitcoin, right, how long is it going to take for Bitcoin to break out? But if Bitcoin were like to break out today or tomorrow or something like that, that this thing could still just continue at a trajectory, be hitting, mid eights by August. And to just show that even this would be moving on that same trajectory, well, what's the region? What's the region we're looking for here? Or I'm looking for? I'm just looking for 177% from where we are right now. Well, what is 177%? On the price chart? Just about there, right? Mid eights. So it's not like this type of behavior would be unusual to even continue that trajectory and that be the end. So it's certainly nothing unusual to see price levels or price corrections of this magnitude. They're exactly what we saw in here, and they just become a part of the past, and oftentimes will show up in here right after you get through kind of these major levels. So as this set in motion, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rolls up, and then there's the last one. You can see the bullish divergences emerging all throughout here, and now price still being a bigger bullish divergence in here while price is still lower. So my guess is that was probably good enough. I was asked in markets in the morning yesterday what's the lowest that they could go, that I said, about 303 right in here. You got a slight wick right below it, but it's holding on top of that support. So happening at the same time of total, right? If this thing turns green and it closes green by the end of the day, the market will be like, hey, successful backtest, we made it. And frankly, that's just what I think it is, like discussed earlier this week. And I don't think this will be the only correction that we see like this. I think we'll see corrections this size. I think we'll see corrections bigger than this as we continue marching on. And it'll be once we finally reach the point where no nobody is scared, nobody is fearful, that'll be the peak. And my suspicion is we're not too far away from that type of price action happening. Just we have to get through this for Bitcoin. And maybe when it comes to confluence, Total just told us that it's a lot closer than we may think, because now we have successfully back tested. So markets in the morning was interesting yesterday. I get asked a lot of questions on how fast things could happen. People be like, I don't see how something like that could happen within 6 weeks, but they certainly can, right? We even brought up Solana yesterday. Personally, Solana does not occupy a major portion of my portfolio, but I don't find anything wrong with people thinking that, it's the next best thing since sliced bread. That's whatever. But even on here, right, I totally see it that this is typical behavior of hitting the high, now going for recovery. That's a back test. This analogy was even brought up before this backtest happened yesterday. And there you go, right back on the support. But my personal thoughts are this market will move very fast when it does, but we're just going to have to wait for Bitcoin to go ahead and tell us we've entered into that phase. And frankly, I don't think we've seen anything yet of what's about to come. And if you weren't paying attention to stocks yesterday, you actually had the Russell 2000 shoot up another little bit more, now back at this last retracement level in here. You have the Dow trying to go for the high too. So frankly, this seems like it's just a back test on top of the high. And we're right on the brink of what we're really here for. So I think it's like a good reminder for people in these environments right here that, I think things are going to get really exciting in the market here in the coming weeks and potentially 2 months. But what will happen when things get exciting is that people really trap themselves into narratives. They trap themselves into this, that, and this is the reason why this is happening. And if this, then that, blah, 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 blah. And the thing on this channel I try to do is just kind of like try to open people's eyes to how the market actually operates and show these confluences of all the markets reacting with each other and what they're doing. And that like the price of XRP has risen at a very specific moment in time in expansion for Bitcoin. And it took that ABC correction for it to break out. And then it rips with the whole market. You even have Binance Coin setting a new high, right? And that the entire altcoin market all pulled back together, and XRP was included in that, right? XRP was not alone in its run up, and XRP was not alone in its pull back. So even to this day, as we're heading into this phase in the market, right, when I'm talking about these things and I'm talking about, I think the price is going to go up and I think it's going to be a parabola and it's going to be exciting, and it's not built on hopium, right? It's just built on, here's how this market operates, right? You don't ever see me coming on here making videos saying XRP is going to go up because all the money is going to flow through it, Nasara, Jacera, Swift, blah, 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 like, right? It's all just the market operating together. And this was a good reminder probably for a lot of people to see that the break up occurs with the market, the pull back occurs with what? The altcoin market. And we showed that there with Total, that Bitcoin just remained still through this whole thing. The altcoin market rose to go break through the total market cap all-time high. The entire altcoin market cap pulled back to back test the all-time high, and XRP was with that. So to just remember, XRP is moving with the altcoin market. And for some people, that's a disappointment to hear. But for me, it's like, it's wonderful because it's like, that's how I can assess if I think the price is actually going to go up, because we don't ever see it go up based on any type of good news. It happens based on what's occurring within the rest of the market. And so to see Bitcoin give us this move, and then we get XRP back to set a new all-time high, this pullback is just an absolute reminder to everyone that it is moving with the market. It's not something that is specifically happening, but it's happening broadly throughout all markets. So today will be about, stabilizing now that we've gone ahead and back tested the high. XRP back testing its breakout. Now we look for things just to kind of settle down for a day or two. And like I continued to say, I think the signal to know that we're entering into the absolute insanity and to be watching for peaks and tops comes once Bitcoin gets out and trying to identify some type of 5-wave structure happening in here for Bitcoin. Till then, this very well could just be our launch pad. So we'll check in on it tomorrow to make sure that things have just settled down here on top of the all-time high for Total. Till then, the twiddle thumb game continues there for Bitcoin for it to start creating a parabola. And when that happens, we are in our new phase of discussions of parabolas, expansions, and then ultimately looking for tops. So otherwise, we'll check on it tomorrow. We'll see that we've settled. In the meantime, guys, check out the newsletter, blockchainbacker.substack.com. We talk all about these expansions, the market getting to where it is right now, how the expectation was for us to get right here. There's a link down here in the description of all of these videos to blockchainbacker.substack.com. And otherwise, I will check in with you tomorrow. But all right, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you could be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor, but if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.